I'm currently on a journey of personal growth, by which I mean I have stopped removing my body hair. That's the sound of male desire being sucked out of a room. I realised I was never shaving or waxing for me. It was only to meet beauty standards that infantilise women. My male housemate took this as a very personal affront. He was like, "Oh yeah? Here we go then. Guess that means you're a lesbian now." Fucking if only. If only that's all it took to stop being attracted to you people. Men, the gender who were afforded pockets yet possess the audacity to wear sunglasses on the back of your neck. He made sure to tell me that no one's going to want to fuck a girl who looks like she's got Chewbacca in a headlock. Dudes really think that the most soul-crushing thing they can say to a woman is that they don't want to sleep with them. I have had so many social media comments from men who in very angry capitals have had to let me know that they would never have sex with me. Okay. This is a photo of me at a christening. Is everything all right at home? No, I wouldn't fuck you. Misspelt by the guy with a profile photo of a V8 ute and a life band from the casino. The last time I took advice from a man about what to do with my body, it was from an ex-boyfriend who successfully convinced me he was allergic to pubes. So I waxed myself bald for him to never go down on me anyway. Yeah, needless to say, it didn't work out, and he went on to marry a dolphin. Welcome to the show. My not-so-literal journey of personal growth involves less thinking quietly to myself. By my very nature, I am a compulsive, people-pleasing pushover. I've got a tramp stamp that says, "No worries if not." And I'm trying to remedy this, and the way that I'm doing that is by using affirmations in the mirror. Do we know affirmations? Yeah, those bite-sized morsels of toxic positivity that women use to gaslight ourselves into thinking we're the problem. Uplifting things like, "Don't kill yourself today, you've still got laundry to do." Every morning I stand in front of the bathroom mirror, pledging strength and confidence, while a conga line of my self-loathing thoughts snakes its way through my brain. Da 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 da, you'll never be happy. Da 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 da, you only have $47 in your super. Da 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 da, you'll never learn how to use a menstrual cup. Da 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 da. I have all the edge of a poached egg. When I walk into a doorframe, I apologise to it. An Uber Eats driver once told me I would never find a husband if I kept eating dumplings. I tipped him 50%. I couldn't summon the courage to send back a bowl of soup in a restaurant, okay? Instead, I just ate the floating Band-Aid. That's the correct response, thank you. I am a sub in every facet of my existence, not in a sexy way. It's less choke me, daddy, and more cut in front of me in the queue, even though we both know I was before you, daddy. A more niche category on Pornhub. But I'm trying to change. I'm trying to become more vocal, take up more space, be more assertive. And where better to try and be an assertive woman than on the Gold Coast? Where anal bleaching is so common, you can wash your whites in the wastewater. The last time I did shows on the Gold Coast was also the first time I did shows on the Gold Coast. And I shan't be returning. What the fuck is that place? It's so vacuous. The only soul that town has are the ghosts of schoolies who died while planking. I was on stage on the Gold Coast doing material about armpit hair when a guy shouted at me from the back of the room, "Oh, that's fucking unnatural." Which I'll let you find the comedy in your own time. Now, I couldn't see this guy, and I don't like to judge, but I am a touring comedian, which means I do possess the natural ability to hear a restraining order. I could just tell by his intonation that he had a jet ski for every IQ point. You know the kind of guy I mean, right? Just a neck vein in board shorts. With a bicep full of portrait tattoos of his children that look like melted Cabbage Patch dolls. The more tattoos a father has of his kids, the less likely it is he's allowed to see them. So this guy heckles me, right? And normally I would have panicked, been intimidated, changed tacks to be more palatable for the audience. But I was trying to take up the space I deserve. So I squared back up to him. The only unnatural thing here is the fact that you felt the need to interrupt me while I'm at work to make an unsolicited comment on what I do with my body, which you assume exists only for your consumption, in a transparent attempt to shame me for having agency over my own physicality, because frankly, sir, it frightens you. Is what I wish I said. What I actually said was, well, if my armpits upset you, you'd be devastated by my pussy. And then I went home, cried and shaved. Just quickly, give us a cheer if you are pro-Bush. All right. And give us a cheer if you're a pedophile. I thought I was doing well on my personal growth journey to assertiveness until recently, when I found myself on a plane, sitting in the window seat with my hands down my pants, trying to remove a tampon. I see you'd like some context. One thing you need to know about me is that I have thrush. More often than I don't have thrush. This is because everything gives you thrush. Carbohydrates, sugar, alcohol gives you thrush. Soap, condoms, bathers give you thrush. Summer, stress, sex gives you thrush. Taking the pill, having a bath, wearing underwear gives you thrush. Hearing the word thrush gives you thrush. You've got it now, I'm sorry. Say thrush 5 times into a mirror and it'll appear like the fucking Candyman. Hello. What's your name?
Penny.
Penny. I'm so sorry I just cast the thrush spell on you, Penny, but solidarity in numbers, I reckon. I do. I think we start a support group. Call ourselves the Rub Club. We'll get merch. You know those wire head scratcher things? We'll get labia-sized ones. Penny doesn't want to do any of this with me. Penny, I can't talk to you about your thrush all night. I have a show to do. We'll get tequilas later. I went to see a doctor about my perpetual thrush. Bulk billed walk-in clinic, because that's where you get the best service. I got a hot doctor. That's a bad start. If you're hot, don't become a doctor. Just don't. You might think you're helping people, being a service to society. Society needs you to stay in your lane. Society needs you to be an escort or an influencer or Jason Momoa's body double. Society does not need you to be sitting across from us in an office while we explain to you in great detail the gelatinous consistency of our discharge. Society was very embarrassed. If you've never had the pleasure, thrush is the thrush bit's still going. Thrush is the overgrowth of yeast in a person's vagina, the symptoms of which are like unbearable itchiness and a cooch that smells like the underside of a jetty. I couldn't make eye contact with the hot doctor. I was looking at the ground, mainly because I wanted to drag myself across it, puss first. Like a dog with unexpressed anal glands. The doctor, whose face better belonged on a Versace billboard, was a first-year resident, which made him 24, which made me Leonardo DiCaprio. Fortunately for me, my hot child doctor suffered from a common affliction that plagues many attractive people. He was so stupid. Of course he was. The human brain doesn't even fully develop until after the age of 25, which is coincidentally when Leonardo gets the ick. When his latest girlfriend starts a sentence with the words, "I think," he just cunt punts her off the yacht. There'll be no maturation of the prefrontal cortex around here. Bring out the next one. I don't care which one, just make sure she wasn't alive when Titanic came out. There was an article that was published last year that revealed doctors will now receive compulsory training in understanding women's health, which is good to know. They didn't already fucking have it. Up until this point, if you look up endometriosis in a medical dictionary, it's just a cartoon drawing of a priest holding a dead cat. Endometriosis, of course, is the Greek goddess of, and have you tried taking Nurofen? After telling this frat boy physician the many things I had tried and failed to rid myself of recurrent thrush, he turned away and he started typing. You know that thunderous patter doctors do on the keyboard while you sit there convincing yourself it's cancer? That's when you're meant to look around the office at the little touches they've added to make themselves seem less like fucking sociopaths. This guy had nothing on his desk but a lone Batman figurine, which should have made me want to root him less. He spun back to me with all the zest of someone who is still delighted by spinny chairs. And he said, "Have you tried inserting garlic?" Sorry? He goes, "Yeah, they say you can cure thrush by vaginally inserting a clove of garlic. Is that something you have tried?" What am I, fucking stir fry? I thought to myself quietly, of course, Penny. I searched his expression for any indication he was not as earnest as his tone suggested, finding nothing. But the chiselled features of a face I still wanted to ride like a mechanical bull. So as a woman on a journey to assertiveness, fed up after a lifetime of being dismissed, shamed and gaslit, I had no choice but to finally summon my voice and say, "Okay, great, I'll try that." The nubile quack asked me if there was anything in my life that could be causing me major stress, as he abseiled Batman down the side of his desk. And really, things were fine. Unless you count that I was 21 months into a long-distance relationship with my fiancé, who was back in London where we live, while I was stuck behind West Australian borders. But really, things were fine. Unless you count that I'd spent all the money I have and much, much more I don't on trying to immigrate him to Australia on a spousal visa, the waitlist time for which is a minimum of 36 months when there's no pandemic. Not to mention, the entire application process is the emotional equivalent of a colonoscopy, because the Department of Immigration are hell-bent on mercilessly fisting devastated couples who are separated through no fault of our own, turning every shred of evidence that the love we share inside out to the point where we've started to question its legitimacy ourselves. And if I'm being a real cynic, I think that's their fucking plan. Really though, things are fine. Unless you count that our relationship is barely hanging on by a rapidly fraying thread, and the thread itself is made up of sending nudes and talking about the weather. And I'm so riddled with guilt for leaving London that I chip a few degrees off my weather to make him feel better about his weather. And suspecting it's not 14 degrees on a summer's day in Western Australia, he Googles my weather, and then we have an argument because I've tried to protect him from the truth of the weather. And then I withdraw and say I need space, and he's like, "Really, Brodi? Space?" And I'm like, "You know what I mean. Please don't be passive-aggressive. I just apologised to my car door for slamming it too hard." And then in a futile act of reparation, I go and upload some more evidence of our long-distance relationship into the spousal visa Dropbox. Like somehow that'll move our application from the bottom of the pile. And it is at the bottom of the pile because my fiancé is not white. And Australia, not a big fan of that. Really though, things are fine. Unless you count that I accidentally uploaded one of the aforementioned nudes that's failing to save my relationship into the official Immigration Department Dropbox that I have no ability to edit. And yes, my face is in it because no, I didn't learn my lesson from when my ex-boyfriend circulated my naked photos in 2017, which is a trauma I don't have time to get into right now because I have just dropped my literal box into the hands of the Australian government. And the only way that this $20,000, 36-month-long, fate-defining application isn't going to get rejected is if the migration caseworker whose desk it gets dropped onto is a big fan of Bush. So I let that information hang in the room, waiting for the doctor to prescribe me a sprig of rosemary up the arse. He asked me how I was sleeping, and I told him how every night I kill someone in my dreams. They aren't dreams in which the gun goes bang and then I wake up. They are nightmares so real I can feel the ache in my wrists after using all my might to strangle a perfect stranger to death. So real I can taste the metallic blood of the person whose jugular I have savaged with my own teeth. So real I can smell that my victim has defecated in their final fight for life. To be fair, that's probably me in my sleep, Dutch ovening myself. I told the doctor how every night for months my brain had been conjuring images of such abject horror. It's like I'd been ear-fucked by the pen of Stephen King. That's my favourite line in the whole show. Hot child doctor told me to start recording my nightmares inside a dream journal, eclipsing garlic in the noon as the worst ever medical advice. He did also give me some meds. He said they'll take the 3 a.m. rave that's happening in your brain down to a respectable social gathering. Because why wouldn't he measure mental health in terms of keg parties? They were pills that are typically used to treat psychosis, but are also very good for panic attacks. He assured me that this was nothing to do with psychosis, that this was simply to help with my anxiety. As an anxious person, what I heard was, you have a severe case of psychosis. I am so anxious that every time I leave my house, I do it with the assumption I'm going to die. Come with me on this one. Ashamed at the thought of my family packing up my house after my untimely death, I gather all my weird objects in like a tumbleweed of mortification and hide them away. Just like my half-drunk bottle of Frangelico, my copy of Assertiveness for Dummies, my tikka masala flavoured lube. I don't want my family finding my sordid belongings after I die. I don't want my dad to be carrying my casket out of the church as Wind Beneath My Wings plays, knowing I was up to dilator number 3 of my anal training kit. He's not crying because he'll never see his little girl again, but because he knows her pegging game was moderate. Most importantly, before I leave the house, I erase all the affirmations off my mirror because the Snooks would have no qualms in putting their grief aside to rip the shit out of me. They'd see I'd written something really lame before I died, like, do one thing a day that scares you. And be like, she probably achieved that one. All my friends seem to have WhatsApp group chats with the members of their immediate family. I don't understand this. Why are you still talking to your family? A family chat is something you have once around the dinner table when you're 8 and your parents tell you they're getting a divorce. Dad's getting a rental, mum's going to start wearing lipstick. All right, that's the silence of people who grew up in happy homes. I started the new meds that night, and if anything, they made my dreams a lot worse. I descend the damp steps to the cellar. The floor glistens with shards of green glass that click under my boots. I peel back the PVC curtain to see him still bound to the chair. His moans bounce off the concrete. The whites of his eyes are streaked with red. They widen as I loom over him, twirling the pickaxe in my hand. I trace my tongue softly along his outer ear cartilage, tasting the brine of his sweat. His face purples as he screams some final vitriol into the dishcloth gag. I bring the axe down. It slices through his skull like butter. The oil spill of his blood blackens the concrete floor. I lay in it on my back, making a blood angel. Using the handle of the axe, I furiously masturbate. Then I wake up and have some Cocoa Pops. My own interpretation of the murder dreams was to do with the issue of avoidance. For months, I'd been putting off a very difficult conversation, and my blood-soaked subconscious was urging me to address it. After nearly 2 years of being separated, emotionally and financially empty, with no idea of when we would see each other again, I had to tell my fiancé I didn't want to marry him. Yeah? You'd prefer to fuck an axe? Okay, I'd prefer to fuck an axe. This wasn't going to take heckler or housemate levels of assertiveness. I would need an entire personality overhaul. Speaking up and setting personal boundaries became a recent social media trend amongst the girlies called entering your villain era. Because why wouldn't we employ an antagonistic narrative for women who communicate their needs? That's literally how the witch trials started. As legend has it, in 1429, right before she was burned at the stake for heresy, the final ever words of Joan of Arc were, "They hate to see a girl boss winning." Thanks for laughing at that. That's really fucking stupid. Centuries before the villain era Instagram movement, there was one woman in history who single-handedly pioneered the entire concept of publicly embracing the villain within. And she was Christina Aguilera. I can see some of you need a genuine history lesson. In the late 1990s, it's happening, Christina Aguilera was wound out of the Mickey Mouse Club meat grinder into sweet saccharine pop princess stardom. Her lips were glossed, her tops were cropped, her hymen was intact. Good little girls everywhere, we idolised her as we sang into our impulse cans about preserving our virginity. I'm a genie in a bottle, you gotta rub me the right way. Lyrics written by a team of middle-aged male songwriters for a teenage girl, but that's a different TED Talk. One Saturday morning in 2002, I was sitting cross-legged in front of the Rage Top 50 countdown when the world as I knew it changed. As my sweet saccharine pop princess appeared in some greasy underworld fight club, wearing a leather bikini top and snatch-skimming arseless chaps, writhing around in a metal-barred cage as it lowered from the ceiling into a bare-knuckle boxing ring. Mum, hold my Milo, I'm having a bisexual awakening. This, of course, is the film clip for the song Dirty, spelt with 2 R's, so we knew she'd lost her V's. I have to make a non-comedy disclaimer here and say that virginity is a damaging social construct with origins in religious law and the commodification of female bodies, and that I cracked my hymen on the balance beam at gymnastics. We all grew up with the total misinformation that we had some kind of impermeable great wall of vagina that could only be perforated by a penis. It's not true. You know whose hymens broke first? Horsey girls. Which is ironic because they were the last to get laid. If I'm not a brave enough person to send back soup in a restaurant, how could I possibly break up with my fiancé? I've got a very difficult history with ending relationships. You can count my breakups by how many pairs of white jeans I own. Because when my heart is broken, I like to channel Cath Day Night. Shopping after a breakup is never a good idea. There should be worldwide legislation in place that states you are not allowed within 100 yards of a Zara until you stop using the phrase, I mean, legally it's not stalking. I want the same regulations in retail that we have in nightclubs. I want a bouncer at the checkout. I want a jacked up ex-con with a throat tattoo who gets to decide if I'm of sound mind enough to purchase low-rise cargo pants. I want to make it to the front of the queue at H&M, recently dumped, clutching a sequined bolo tie, hot pink cowboy hat and snakeskin boots. Instead of needing my ID to let me through, checkout bouncer needs to see the last 3 songs I've played on Spotify. He's there like, Skinny Love, Bon Iver. Stay With Me, Sam Smith. Someone Like You, Adele. Yeah, sorry love, not today. Come back when you're in the Miley Cyrus Flowers phase. I feel like we all attempt some strange form of escapism when our hearts are broken. When I got ghosted by someone who I thought was the love of my life, I started selling photos of my feet on Gumtree. When I told someone I love you and I didn't hear it back, I pierced my own nipple with a sewing needle. And when a situationship unexpectedly went south, I gave a blowjob to a young Liberal. We all cope differently. We all cope differently is what I'm saying. I wish that last one was made up. Like any B-grade rom-com you comfort watch while you're ovulating, my relationship with my fiancé followed a classic 3-act structure. Act 1 was what I like to call the full of shit stage of the relationship, where the main staples of my persona were twirling my hair and laughing at deeply offensive things. A line I've written in case there are any network radio casters in. In the early days of the relationship, I defected to being so one-dimensional in order to impress him. It was like I'd been written by Judd Apatow. I was just a fleshlight with a pulse. I wore makeup to bed and jet-washed my genitals like a patio at the start of spring. Then pretended I love going on top. Going on top during sex is sneaky exercise. It is cardio while trying not to queef on someone's scrotum. On a side note, I truly believe the reason you gain so much weight in a brand new relationship is because you're too scared to shit at their house. Hence the full of shit stage. Act 2 was the long distance period where I learned that sending and receiving naked photographs is something that belongs firmly in casual dating, where you're performing a gradual striptease via text for someone who never has to know you pissed the bed after 3 wines. And in return, you get the slow reveal of a body you don't yet know. Oh, it's very exciting. You're there like, oh, chest hair, hot. Oh, freckles on the shoulders, hot. Oh, Southern Cross tattoo. Block. Curating an unrealistic naked photograph for a long-term partner who already knows your body very well is like piercing the ears of an ugly baby. You can sprinkle parsley on top of mashed potato, but your baby still looks like Voldemort shrunk. People kind of laugh at that chest hair line, by the way, but a full rug is my genuine kink. I want to lose visibility of my entire hand. like I'm caressing a hedge. Men, please stop trimming your chest hair. Actually, keep going. Send me the offcuts. I'll keep them in a box under my bed and just rub them on my face. I've just told you guys I kill someone every single night. Yet that is the most murdery thing I have said. And Act 3 was me realising that marriage appears to be the most pointless thing I could do with my one and only life. And if there's married people in, I'm sure you agree. I realised I wasn't the marrying kind when I Googled how to have a feminist wedding. Yeah, the results were like legally binding yourself to a straight man for all eternity, smash that pesky patriarchy by wearing a chic pantsuit. I was shit at the planning process from the very beginning, right? When we were filling in the wedding registration paperwork, I had to write down what my father does. Then had to pay £90 for new forms after I wrote, play golf and have affairs. Overshadowed by pandemic-enforced separation and the hellscape of being deep in the bowels of the spousal visa waitlist, the idea of marriage had become barbaric. We hadn't been in the same room for 2 years. And if I'm being honest, I'd forgotten his name. Getting married is better suited to couples who say they're each other's best friends. You know, they've got a joint F45 membership. They meal prep on Sundays and they've got an Instagram account for their cavoodle. First of all, that's not a dog, that's a science experiment. And you're going to hell. Yeah, she's got hip dysplasia, retinal atrophy and a lifespan of 6 years. But look, her bandana says bon appetit. I just feel like when I find myself arguing with my 35-year-old friends as to why I haven't followed Noodle the Cavoodle back, climate change could be killing us faster. Secondly, I don't understand these wives who are like, my husband is my best friend. My husband is my best friend. I don't want that. I want a best friend who I can send a photo of a period clot to with the caption, suck shit, beat this. P.S. Can I borrow your NutriBullet? I want to make guac. They're two separate thoughts, by the way. Not up here making clot guac. I know, don't be disgusting. So I decided that if in the space of one music video, Christina Aguilera could go from having every button of her pink cardigan done up to the top to beating the bare-knuckle fuck out of someone in a gimp mask, I too could channel my inner villain and end this relationship. And then his visa came through and he got on a plane. While I reverted to apologising to door frames and feeling secretly flattered that the government liked my nude. We both had concerns about my fiancé moving to Western Australia. He is a 6'7" black man from Mauritius. Don't feel bad if that's not what you were picturing, neither were my parents. I don't want to say my family are uncultured, but they do think falafel is a capital city. He was understandably nervous, right? On the flight over, he watched Get Out. That didn't help. Still reeling from my formal diagnosis of psychosis. The keg party in my head had been overrun by gate crashes. It was the kind of pandemonium that's going to make the news. There's a bonfire in the living room, people are fucking in the pantry, someone spray painted a dick on the cat. And the conga line of my self-loathing thoughts was having an excellent time as it danced its way through the keg party wreckage. Da 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 da. It's too late to end it now, then fuckhead. Da 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 da. Enjoy being a meal prepping F45er. Da 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 da. One of your redneck family's gonna try and touch his hair. Da 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 da. I wanted to ease my fiancé into meeting my family, but my mum had organised a big picnic with all our extended relatives. Because what better way to expose your beloved to your hereditary mental illness than with an immersive experience? My mum knew I was desperate to end this relationship, but in her day, we work through our problems, Brody. Clearly forgetting that after her third divorce, she took up fire twirling. Now, this picnic was actually going fine until my nana gave the speech. At every family gathering, apropos of nothing, my nana will rise slowly from her deck chair and begin the same monologue, which always starts very beautifully and descends into a description of her cavernous vagina. Stay with me. She will hoist a warm gin tin into the air with an arthritic hand, telling us all how it's her greatest privilege, her greatest pleasure, to be the matriarch of a family she considers to be the greatest in the whole world. And then she crushes the can on her head and goes, "Who are ya?" She's English, they're mental. She continues her speech by reminding us all that our lineage began with her body. She could end it there. She won't. I've tried starting the applause. I've tried booing. But my 88-year-old grandmother will then commence a gruesome diatribe detailing the births of each of her 10-pound babies. Or as she likes to call them, my wrecking balls. Without fail, she will bring this speech home every single time back to the vastness of her vag with the final closing line. And a man better have a fence post tied to his back or he'll fall in. Which is how my granddad died. My fiancé knew that things weren't right, mainly because I hadn't blinked since his plane landed. The death toll of my dreams continued to rise very steadily. I can hear him thrashing in the trunk. The chloroform must have worn off. The light of the full moon illuminates my hands upon the wheel. A dark border of rust-coloured blood lines each of my nails. In our struggle, his skin had curled under my claws like ice cream at the mercy of a heated scoop. I pull up at the sea cliff and pop the boot. The muscles in the corner of his eye quiver as I hold the knife to his neck and lower the blindfold. A pink silk sleep mask that says, "Not tonight, darling." His wrists bound by wire, I lead him to the farthest verge. With a horse kick to the lower back, I propel him over the edge, like I'm Leonardo and he's just hit 25. His screams echo off the cliff face as he dissolves into the black waves, certain to be disemboweled by the bloodthirsty beasts of the deep. Upside of the cliff push, by the way, no murder weapon. Downside, nothing to masturbate with. Clearly, I had to end this relationship immediately. I was a little bit sad I wouldn't get a honeymoon though, because from what I understand, it's just a holiday where you fuck a lot. My whole life, I've wanted to travel to Slovenia. I've wanted to climb the mountains and swim in the alpine lakes. My fiancé wanted to take me home to Mauritius, presumably so I could learn the circumference of his nansmut. I turned to the villain-era girlies for help with this breakup because there's no WikiHow page for how to respectfully dump your fiancé when they've just moved to the other side of the world for you without them knowing you've wanted to end it for like a year, but you suffer from chronic passivity and also psychosis. Google was like, did you mean white high-waisted flares? I read all the articles I could find about how to enter my villain era. They were well-researched, psychological, peer-reviewed pieces about self-reclamation with advice like fuck the haters and you do you, boo. Both of which I immediately wrote on my mirror. Just above, take your iron tablet, you anemic slut. But by now I'd regressed to my very safe place of submission. I'm not the kind of person who can just call off a wedding. I can't even use a menstrual cup. More accurately, I can't use a menstrual cup without my crotch looking like the work of Jackson Pollock. Despite my best efforts, I'm still a tampon wearer. I am. I'm still riding the cotton bullet. But I don't do it gladly because forever imprinted onto my anxiety brain is the bold lettering from the Libra leaflet about toxic shock syndrome. Thank you. I am 32 years old. I truly believe that if I wear a tampon for 4 hours and 1 minute, I will die immediately. No later than that 4-hour mark am I wrenching that little stick of dynamite out of me. Because nowhere in the coroner's report do I want it to read, sanitary item forcibly removed by jaws of life. Autopsy revealed she was more tampon than woman. Correctly sensing my fast eroding sanity, my fiancé booked us a fancy hotel so that we could reconnect. We were living at my mother's house, and while sharing a bedroom wall with a parent might sound like the ideal setting in which to reignite a lost romantic spark, it was quite hard to bring home an orgasm while hearing her yell answers to the chase. A fancy hotel was a lovely idea. I'd been touring a lot for work and I'm still very much at the motor lodge point of my career, which means I'm at the jokes about motor lodges point of my career. I'd been staying at the kind of establishment where the owners are also the caretakers, the housekeepers, the receptionists, and the ones who will stare blankly at you when you tell them there's excrement on the bedspread. It's always one old husband and wife with total unabashed disdain for each other. They look like a more depressed version of the couple from the American Gothic painting. Instead of holding a pitchfork, he's got a plunger. They run the kind of establishment where there's a pool in the car park in which floats the bloated body of a long-dead backpacker. The kind of establishment where there's a chain on the door and a Bible in the drawer, as if God can fucking help you now. The kind of establishment where the bed sheets have all the softness of a prawn cracker. And the scent. So I made the most of the fancy hotel. I really did. I wore the robe, I ate all the biscuits, I drank all the shower gel. And to our surprise, we actually did manage to reconnect. The visa stress, the long-distance woes, the family expectation, it all just fell away. And we just got to be us again after 2 fucked up years apart. Turns out I can bring home quite a few orgasms without my mum goggle boxing in the next room. As we lay serene in our clammy post-coital haze, tangled in bed sheets that didn't have the thread count of shrimp chips. I realised the keg party in my head had gone quiet. The gate crashes no longer swung from the rafters of my brain. All that was left was one question I'd buried very deep and very dark, like a butt plug from my bedroom. Did I really not want to marry him? Or was I just afraid? Like I'm afraid of literally everything else. Can I continue to painstakingly sculpt my entire life around my many fears? Or could I actually just start living it? My fiancé chimed in with his own very pressing question. He asked me if we should get a cavoodle. After some tears, some fighting, and a short lecture on just how unethical the artificial selection of canine crossbreeding is, it was finally over. We were never going to be happy, but we'd have run a great motor lodge. I experienced no desire to profit off my toes, to pierce a nipple, or to teabag a conservative. I thought maybe I was actually too sad this time to do something really ridiculous. Until 2 days later, when I found myself on a one-way flight to Slovenia, sitting in the window seat with my hands down my pants, trying to remove a tampon. The lesser-known first stage of grief. Thank you. True, I'd summoned my inner villain enough to call off a wedding and disappear to the other side of the world by myself, but I still could not pluck up the courage to tap the stranger on the shoulder next to me and ask them to get up. Joan of Arc led an entire army to victory. I can't liberate my own tampon. The guy next to me was one of those ones who really settles in to a long-haul flight, taking up the kind of space I could only ever dream of, you know, just like a neck pillow wearing, leg spreading, shoes off prick. And I say that with the highest of compliments. I hope to be one someday. We had been flying for 4 hours and 1 minute. Which, as we all know, is toxic shock o'clock. I was slouched down in my seat with my coat draped over my lap and my hands down my, say it with me now, new white jeans. And I'd nearly done it too, right? My tampon was in the liminal space between in and out, you know, like a menstrual hokey pokey. Does anyone need a second for menstrual hokey pokey? Suddenly the plane hit a patch of turbulence. And the seatbelt sign above me dinged. An air stewardess came over, which is like an air steward, but you get paid less. She was checking to see that all of our belts were done up, and knowing what would happen if I removed my coat, I hoped they would be nice to me in Slovenian jail. Just as I was about to commit indecent exposure, the pilot came over the tannoy and told the flight crew to take their seats, which is aviation code for uh-oh. The interior lights in the cabin started to flicker and the plane dipped very abruptly as my throat and my colon became one. The guy next to me put his shoes back on. Like he was going to outrun a plane crash. The caterwauling of post-breakup Adele in my headphones was not enough to drown out my self-loathing conga line, dancing even in the face of death. Da 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 da, you didn't erase your mirror affirmations. Da 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 da, there's still a box of chest hair under your bed. Da 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 da. Exactly what is the plan with this tampon once you get it out, by the way. Da 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 da. As the Boeing 777 plummeted faster than the value of my engagement ring, I made new affirmations. If this plane lands, I am going to change. In the immortal words of Christina Aguilera, it's about time for my arrival. I'm going to be the kind of person who can tap a stranger on the shoulder and say, "Excuse me." The kind of person who doesn't hide their sex toys under the floorboards like they're harbouring fugitives. The kind of person who will not chip a few degrees off their weather to make someone else feel better about their own. I'm going to have all the unrelenting confidence of a heckling dead shit dad from the Gold Coast. Spoiler alert, I lived. And I would love to wrap up this tale in a satin bow of satisfactory conclusion and tell you all that I have changed. But as I found out after I called off a wedding and disappeared to Slovenia for 6 months to apologise to their door frames, an ending is not a resolution. I drape the Hessian sack over his head. The revolver feels heavy in my hand as I press it hard into his temple. I hold my breath and pull the trigger. The deafening pop sets the marrow of my bones ablaze. I stumble backward and drop the gun. It rattles across the floor. Fresh agony spreads like wildfire throughout my body, igniting my insides. My victim is suddenly nowhere, somehow evaporated into the ether. I stagger to the wall, finding myself in a mirror. At the site of my own temple is a perfect wound, a deep explosion in the side of my skull. Thick crimson cascades down my neck, pooling in the enclave of my collarbone. I stare at my beaming reflection and I smile back, our teeth stained with blood. The affirmation on the mirror reads, "Die like no one's watching." When I make it to Netflix, not for a comedy special, but a murder documentary, entitled "Villain Era, How One Girlie Took the Hashtag Too Far." The filmmakers will want to interview the people who knew me best. My mum won't be available for comment, preferring instead to yell it at the television. Hot child doctor will say there were absolutely no warning signs. And my nana will use the opportunity to do a tight five on her loose puss. But to end the show on a much more positive note than that, I'm very pleased to announce to you all tonight that I am finally rid of thrush. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So Penny, what do you think? You going to take it home or are you good? You good? Okay. That's good, because I still got to tour this show and there's a cost of living crisis on. Get your own. $2.10 that cost me. That's the price you pay when you don't write an ending joke to your show. That's been up there for an hour. What can I say? Take after my nan.